Hey, my name's Rachel from Aussie Online Growing on Shopify. This is episode 80. I can't believe I've done 80 podcast episodes. And I guess in the podcast world, when I listen to podcasts, 80 doesn't seem like a huge amount when I think about who I listen to and who I follow. But when you're actually talking and recording your own podcast episodes, 80 seems like an unbelievable number. I never imagined I would have 80 different things to talk about in growing a small online business in Australia, but apparently I do, and have many more episodes to come and hopefully lots more years yet under my belt for podcasting. This podcast episode is a beginner episode. It's in my beginner series for e-commerce and growing, not even just e-commerce, but for growing an online business in Australia. And this is an episode as part of that series. It wasn't originally going to be one because the episode is called, Are You Blogging in 2024? But as I was writing this episode, I realized I'm actually talking lots about the reason why to start a blog. So in that same vein then, this is a beginner episode. If you are new into online business in Australia, if you're looking to find clients or customers to sell products or services, then this episode's for you. I'm an e-commerce person. I have an e-commerce business in Australia. I've grown that primarily through Facebook and Instagram advertising, email marketing, and blogging. But as I'm writing this episode, blogging concepts hold true across the board. It doesn't matter if you're a service-based business or product-based. Blogging, absolutely, the benefits of like work for everybody. If you are trying to find a presence online, grow a customer base online, build trust online, then blogging is for you. And it still is. I started a blog way back in my younger adult days when blogging was big. And I reckon that was maybe 2004, 2005. Lots of people had blogs, and I had a blog. It was a personal blog, like a lifestyle blog. And I did that for a couple of years. I really enjoyed it. And of course, now when I look back on it, I got incredible reach, lots of not customers, but comments. Like my blog had a lot of traction, but at the time it didn't seem like it. It's so funny, isn't it? The online world, we hate where we're at often in the online space, in the industry, and imagine it's terrible, really hard, real hard slog, no, sure results, and everything's an experiment or a trial, and you're going to lose a lot of money. That feels like the general consensus about online business in general now. But, we felt the same way back in the early 2000s. But when you look at it now compared to, look at the 2000s now in retrospect, man, that was a blue ocean for sure. Things were easy to come by in the early 2000s. And then if you advertise on Facebook like I do, if you were advertising online on Facebook and Instagram in 2015 or 2016 or 2017, the early days of online ads for Meta, it seemed probably hard then. But if you look back on it from this perspective, it was like a piece of cake. So it's just funny about how online business works like that all the time. It doesn't matter what stage you're at. Honestly, it really doesn't. Because you just need to learn to find results and do tests and trials with where you're at. Because honestly, in another 5 years, we'll be looking back on 2024 and be thinking, oh, that one thing worked so well in 2024. What was I complaining about now? It's so much harder now. So what has that got to do with what I'm talking about? I'm talking about why to start a blog. People still write blogs. Blogs are still useful, and absolutely mainly, my blog is for my SEO. Most of my SEO, all of my SEO efforts are in blogging. Blogging is an incredible way to build SEO, and people don't do it for many reasons, and I'm convinced one of the reasons is because it's just a long play. You are putting in time and energy and effort into something that you really don't know if it's going to pay off. You can't even imagine it will make a difference. And you're not going to see tangible results for a very long time, which is why I started a blog as soon as I started my e-commerce businesses. When I opened both my e-commerce stores, I started a blog for both of them on the first day. I knew it was going to be something I would be so happy I did down the track. So if you are new into online business, you are looking to find clients and build trust, if you're looking to sell products and find customers, I would encourage you just to start a blog now, because you will be so grateful you did down the track. You'll even be grateful you did crappy blog posts down the track. Because there are some things about blogging and SEO that I do know. There is plenty I do not know because I'm not an SEO expert. I'm not a Google expert. My world is Meta for sure. That's where my strategy and my specialty lies. But I do know these things about SEO. Let me tell you what I can tell you that I know to be true. Recency is important and fresh content is important. Fresh content on your website and recent content on your website is key. So Google trawls your website periodically. That's the word I'm looking for, and looks for fresh content and accurate content for what a customer might be looking for, fresh and recent content. And content also means products. If you are in e-commerce, if you have a Shopify website like I do, content actually also means products. So fresh things on your website, fresh pages, fresh products, fresh content. If you're selling a service, you're looking for clients, blog posts or new offerings or updated images. Any fresh content and recent content is important. So that's why I think a blog is a no-brainer. It gives you a scheduled time every week. If you want to do one every week, at least do a blog every week. I don't anymore. I've just gotten so slack with it. I used to be so much better, but every fortnight even, like honestly, that some people would say that's just a waste of time. But remember, if you look down a year down the track from where you are now, once a fortnight is still 20 something blog posts. That's not a small amount of content, and it's still worth doing and putting the effort into for your website for SEO purposes and for your customers to find you. Another reason why a blog is a great idea is it gives you something to email to your customers without feeling salesy. It gives you something to email your customers and say, hey, I've just written this article. I've just written this blog post. It's about blah, blah, blah. I think you'll find it really valuable and helpful in your life because of this, this, and this. And you give them a link to that blog post that you wrote or the article that you wrote. So you are keeping in touch with your customers and giving them value to build that know, like, and trust factor without directly like salesy stuff to them, without actually pushing something, an offer or selling something to them. So there's another great reason why blog's important. What was I saying about SEO? I need to keep an eye on my notes that I have here next to me. Another reason why SEO, or another thing I know about SEO is the type of platform that your website is on is actually important. WordPress was, it might still be this way, WordPress was the gold standard, hey. Like if you've been around in online business world for a couple of decades, WordPress websites were the gold standard, particularly when it came to Google organic search. Google just gave them a much higher domain authority and trust, and they were just much more trusted search results for customers looking for things on Google. So that's still important today. WordPress is not the important part of this conversation now, though, but other platforms are also valuable to Google. Like Shopify has absolutely come to the forefront in recent years, and their blog is far more trusted now than it used to be as far as returning results to customers who search things on Google. I've totally found that to be the case with my own blog. I can absolutely say that, but I also know that is true across the industry. So the type of website you have and the platform your website is on actually makes a difference. My website for Aussie Online growing on Shopify is Wix. And I should never have put it on Wix, I don't think. I've had a bit of organic traffic from my blog posts on there, and I haven't done a lot of work there at all with my blog. So I know I'm telling you to do what I say, not what I do, because I talk about here on this podcast about my e-commerce journey mostly. So I kind of give you my examples from my e-commerce store, but not from my service-based business, which is growing. So I need to do some more work with my blog because I want to talk about that too. But I don't think Wix is not giving me the same results and the same organic traffic and push as what I get through my Shopify website. So the type of platform you're on does make a difference. So I just encourage you in that sense. So I don't know what website you have, if you have Shopify or another type of website, but just don't kind of grab for the first free type website template you find online to build yourself a website. If you're in the hopes of building some organic traffic, go with some bigger brand, trusted brand that has a blog integrated into it as a native part of its platform, which Shopify definitely does. And WordPress is potentially still probably the gold standard for that. And if you're wondering, as I'm talking to you now, as I'm thinking in my head, if you're wondering, does anybody even use Google anymore? Of course, people still use Google. I know there's bigger things out there now. AI is massive, of course. So people are saying, like AI will be the downfall of Google. And I potentially don't disagree with that over the long term. I do think Google has got some major hurdles ahead because of AI. However, people are still on Google. I have Google open all the time on my laptop. I've got it on my phone. So Google is still a place people go looking for things, particularly if they see a brand on social media and then go look for the brand on Google. And you might think, well, if they go look for me on Google, they'll just find me. But that's not actually always the case. Do you know, early on in my e-commerce days, when my blog was still brand new, my website was still pretty new, if I went to Google and searched my brand name, I didn't even come up on the page, or like on the first page. How funny is that? Because it's just so many millions of results and websites and businesses in the world that even looking for my own brand on Google in the early days did not return my website as a search result for a customer. So if they saw me on social media and went to find me on Google, I wasn't there in the first page. I am now significantly, that was sold a couple of years ago. And I'm convinced one of the reasons why is because of my domain authority and my continued SEO efforts to build that trust with Google, and that customers will find legitimate products and legitimate solutions for them on my website. And they'll find interesting blogs to read that they find value in. So it's just an avenue to continue to serve my customers and to give them something interesting to read about that really, increases my what's the word I'm looking for, my industry authority in their mind. As a customer, they know they can come to me and find something that's fresh and interesting and that's relevant to the industry and what they are doing day to day and what they want to know about. Another thing is to keep the title of your blog post or your article sensible. Don't do anything abstract, because people are searching for this. You want your blog to be an avenue to help with your SEO efforts. So if it's going to help with your SEO efforts, you need the title to be sensible, to make sense when you first read it, to not have any weird puzzly words or things that only insiders would know or that only your customers know, or analogies in your blog title, unless it's really clear what the blog post is about, because you want people to be able to find it. In a similar way, really be deliberate about how you lay out your blog post by using the headers. So what I mean by that is heading one, when you're typing a blog post or anything on a page on your website, you've got options to format your text, like heading 1, heading 2, heading 3, heading 4, blah, 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 and paragraph or plain text and different things like that. Don't type your whole blog post out as a paragraph formatted text. You want to use the headings. So you want to use headings 2 and headings 3 or headings 4, because those headings are category flags to Google, and like title, paragraph tags. They're things that Google looks for more so than just the general text, to see if your blog post returns results that a customer, searched on Google for, and if it will match what they need. So I don't know if I'm just chucking out lots of random information in this episode. I hope I'm coming across clear and concise. I feel like I've just chucked everything I know about SEO, which is not a huge amount, into this one episode, and it's potentially gone a bit all over the place, but I will continue on. My notes did seem to make a whole lot of sense when I wrote them, so I'm going to trust that. So you need to keep your title sensible. That's your heading 1 just by default, because it's your title. And then you need to be deliberate about your text, whatever your text says. Split it into paragraphs, split it into lists, and bullet points are great too if you want to use like bullet points in your blog post, or even just like numbers. Do a numerical list, like top 3 ways, blah, 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 and list 1, 2, 3, but use your formatted text types. Use your heading 1s and heading 2 and heading 3, and use paragraph. So be deliberate with some of those headings when you're using paragraph titles or a new topic or a new concept or ways that you want to break up your text, because those headings are important for Google. In addition, make sure you use your meta description and your meta URL deliberately as well. This is why your blog post title should be sensible for people to find you on Google search. They should have some keywords in it for your customer or your ideal client, but not be keyword spammy, because it will just mean nothing to Google. But make sure there's that your title of your blog post obviously speaking to your customer or your ideal customer. So I often use words in my blog titles or posts like paper crafter, journaling, scrapbooking, stickers, papers, pattern papers, general terms. There's usually one of those in my blog post title so that it's obviously about my industry and my ideal customer. But your meta description, which is underneath that section, you need to fill that out with some of the synopsis from your blog post. So if you want to pull the first paragraph and chuck it into the meta description, even better though is to take your blog post, put it into ChatGTP and say, hey, can you give me a synopsis of this blog post? What are the important points? Like, pull out for me what's important in this blog post in a little paragraph and use that in your meta description, because your meta description, when you search on Google, is what shows up just under the result. You know, when you're looking on Google and you can see the link to a result, directly under it, you get a bit of preview text. That preview text is your meta description. So that really needs to give readers a synopsis of what the blog post is about so they know it works for them, is suitable for them. Customers will then read that and know to click through. But more importantly for this purpose is that's a great SEO tool for Google to use as keywords and topics and things in that blog post. So it helps them know whether to return that blog post as a result to someone who's searching. That makes sense? I feel like I'm saying if that makes sense. Some of you probably blog. I may be talking to a room here of people who already blog and who know about blogging, but I'm going to assume, like most people I talk about when it comes to blogging, I get people rolling eyes at me or people saying, what? Who blogs? I do. And there's reasons why. It's absolutely so worth doing. I 100% think it's so worth doing for your small business online. What else are we going to do? Buy a billboard? Get a TV commercial? Of course not. We have other tools at our disposal that we leverage and we make the most of for our small online business to grow our online presence. And blogging is one of those things. Blogging will help you with your social media content too. How good is that? If that's not a reason to start blogging, I don't know what is. Take your blog post and then split it up into 20 tiny social media tiles and quotes and content, pieces. You could have images in your blog post that you created with AI or from product photos or lifestyle photos. And all of those things you then use on social media, or you can use on social media by taking snippets out of your blog post and putting them on Facebook or Instagram or YouTube or TikTok. You can have a blog post and then you can record yourself talking about some of the points on the blog post and do 5 60-minute TikToks. And then you've got TikToks that all talk about this one blog post in small chunks and you send people back to the blog post. It really is a pillar piece of content. Your blog post can really serve as the time you spend to write this one piece of content that becomes a pillar piece of content that you can pull pieces out and rearrange and reuse and then jump off or launch off from into different areas. I did a blog post just a little while ago that then became a Facebook Live. So I sent it as an email. I used it as an opportunity to put inside my Facebook group and have a conversation about it. And then I also did a Facebook Live about it where the topic of the live was the content from the blog post. So many ways to be able to use a blog post that you write. Another thing I know about SEO is, I think that's all of them. The other thing to say is probably with the relevant keywords you use. You can go looking for keywords. I do. I like certain tools online, of course, but also use backlinks, like backlink to your own products. That's actually valid backlinks. You can backlink or you can link to your own products on your own blog, and they are legitimate backlinks on Google. I believe, this is not absolutely 100% true at all because I'm not sure if I'm getting my facts around the wrong way. I believe that there was a time where backlinks, where they were your own, from your own website, internal links, were not given as much credibility or visibility on Google as obviously external backlinks where someone else is linking to your products. But that has totally changed now. I have backlinks to my own products in my blog, and I'm really happy with my backlink score as far as online tools are concerned. So it's not a problem anymore. Here are some of the tools I use. These tools you have probably heard of lots online and on other podcasts, and maybe you use them too. They're very well known. Both of the tools that I know and I love are Neil Patel products. One of them is Ubersuggest and Answer the Public. Both of those two tools, Ubersuggest crawls my website. It gives me keyword result like ideas of what content to write to boost my SEO. It can monitor my competitors. I get an SEO ranking on it, ways to boost my SEO, backlink opportunities and how to increase my backlink score, domain authority, lots of things. Like Uber Suggest is wonderful. That's a Neil Patel product. Lots of things. There are lots of things out there like that, of course. Another one is Answer the Public, which is also a Neil Patel product, which is a mind map of ideas. If you're stuck with what to write a blog about, then Answer the Public is amazing. You put in a question or your niche or your industry, and then it will give you lots of different results of what to write a blog post about, or what to write content about, or social media posts about. So I do that often, and then I can go back in and refresh it. And it's just the free plan for Answer the Public as well. And it gives me enough options, plenty of options to work through when I sit down and want to write a blog post. So both of those things I use all the time, and I also use ChatGPT, of course, all the time as well. And because I have the the paid version, I have DALL-E as well in there too that I use for images. Also, my own product catalog. My own product catalog is a tool for my blog posts. And the same is true for you. Your services and your product catalog are a tool for you to write about those products. When you write a blog post, it needs to really be about your customer. Like a blog post is something that a customer would sit and read and find an answer to something, or just be either encouraged or inspired or educated. So it's less about a product in the sense of the features and benefits of a product, and it's more about the life around the product. You have this particular product. What can you talk about to your customers about this product, how it will change their life, how they'll love it, how it will add value to their life in a way that will be interesting for them to read. And then your product becomes just the subconscious background. Like your product becomes the backstory, not the main point of that blog post. I have done blog posts before where I just talk about a product just because I was stuck for what to do. So I just talked about a specific product, but they're not blog posts I often send my customers to. Like they're not pillar pieces of content that anyone on Google is searching for. Other types of blog posts are where the blog post itself is for my customer, is for my ideal client or my potential client or a customer lead. The blog post is for them to read and either enjoy, relax, be inspired or educated by. That's when a blog post is successful, and you'll feel really confident using that piece of content as well when you write it from that angle. And then your products become secondary and is a bit of a backstory or a bit of an add-on to the blog post itself. Let me also tell you, I'll click over here to my notes, this is a little bit about writing a blog post. So just start one. If you haven't written a blog post yet, or you haven't started one, just start one. Go and find a social media post that performed well in the last 90 days. Pull out the social, like the creative, the image or the video, and then use the concept of whatever that post was about and write a blog. That's honestly what I would do if I was starting a blog from scratch. What social media post has done pretty well for you in the last 90 days? Write a blog about it. Get the topic of that social media post and then pull it into a blog. Create it, expand it, fluff it out, add bits to it, make it a big meaty piece of content. You know it already resonates with your audience. So it takes a lot of the procrastination away from it. A lot of the what do I do? What do I write? What do I say? All of that initial inertia. You've just got to get past that. You just got to push through to begin with and just get moving a bit, and you'll feel it so much easier just to keep rolling along once you just get past that initial inertia and start moving. And starting to move, if you haven't got a blog post or haven't started one yet, will probably be what to write. So just go back and find something on social media for you that's done well, even in the last 12 months, whenever, it doesn't matter the time frame, just to give yourself something to write about. So you've got a bit of a topic in mind, and then go and expand that through these tools and brainstorm and do some writing and spend some time. It's going to take you a while. If you haven't written a blog post before, or if you're very new to writing blogs, you don't do it very often, it's going to take a bit of time for you to write your first post. I'm even thinking about my first few blog posts 3 or 4 years ago. I'm sure I spent 2 hours on a blog post, which is crazy. I tend now not to spend more than probably 20 minutes when I write a blog post, but that's because lots of this now is a bit more second nature, and I kind of have an idea of where I'm going with that. Like I said, I'm not an SEO expert, but I'm very happy with my SEO score. I'm very happy with how I rank for certain keywords. So I am speaking from experience, even though I wouldn't tout to be an SEO expert. And I've definitely helped clients with SEO as well, particularly clients who are beginners in this, who maybe are starting from scratch or are pretty new and not finding traction, or have been around for a few years and not finding traction. I invariably have found that they don't have a blog post. So I'm thinking of a couple of people I've worked with in the last 6 months who've had a business for a couple of years and are really struggling because they're not finding their customers. They're not finding any ideal customers, and they're not sure why. They don't quite know where to put their efforts, and they're a bit stuck. I've suggested blogging to both of them. Neither of them have a blog. It also gives you something to do that keeps your head in the game and in the industry, and keeps you thinking about your customers and your ideal client all the time when you write a blog. You're really in their mindset. So it really helps you understand who they are and how to communicate to them really well. So that's been absolutely game-changing for both of them, and really helped them feel like now their websites have got a little more beef to them. They're a bit meatier, something really substantial for their customers to browse, spend time on. And we know, like you know this as well as I do, the longer your customers or potential clients spend on your website, the better. The more they click around and read things and browse and hang about, the closer they are to purchasing. And a blog can do that for you. You have, 10 blog posts under your belt. It gives them something to browse through. If a customer of yours is skimming your blog and looks at 10 different blog post titles, invariably they're going to find one that probably looks interesting to them, have a click on, a little bit of a read of. All of that gives them more interesting things to hang about on your website longer. And the longer they hang about on your website, the closer they are to making that purchase decision, whether it's as a client to sign up for you for a service, a one-off service, an ongoing service, or a customer to chuck something in their cart and head through the checkout. This I'm going to finish with was my favorite part of writing this episode. I've got a list of 10 blog post titles, and this was just fun. These aren't all of them in my industry at all, but I felt like I could have sat there all afternoon and typed out lots of different blog post title ideas, which I'm going to pull a couple of these out for myself and write some blog posts on these as well. But this was actually good fun. I feel like with blogging, this is going to be the same for everything. Hey, this is business in general, probably. So it's definitely social media. It's definitely business. It's definitely blogging. Once you're in the headspace, things flow a lot quicker. It's just tricky to get there, to spend the time, to carve out the time, to sit down to do it, turn off your distractions, get in the right mindset, have your, Neil Patel's products open, have ChatGTP there. And then once, even open Facebook and scroll Facebook, see what your competitors are doing, what they're sharing, what they're talking about. You'll be surprised how many blog post ideas jump out at you after looking at your competitors and what they're chatting about online. And then once I sat down and was in this headspace, I could have kept writing blog post titles for ages. This was fun. Let me read them to you. They're in no particular order. They're just various different industries and ideas. I hope you just find them encouraging, and it might spark for you an idea of what to write your next blog post about. Here we go. Top 10 art journaling creators to follow on YouTube. And this is one I have done. And then I had links to those creators. So I found their YouTube pages and I chucked them in my blog post and linked to them. I also took a little screenshot of their channel so I could put that in Canva and make up a nice tile. So each of them had like a nice tile and then a little synopsis and then a link over to their YouTube. Why your electricity bill is so high. I was just thinking about that because I paid my electricity bill today and it was very high. I thought I would totally go on Google and search, why is my electricity bill so high? And so if this is an idea of maybe a blog post you could write that really answers a specific pain point for a customer or a client. So why is your electricity bill so high? There's an idea. Another one, how to toilet train your puppy in 7 days. If you have a puppy, that potentially is appealing. I haven't had a puppy for many years. I don't know if 7 days is usual or if that's really short or really long. I'm not sure, but I thought it was a good blog post title. And one thing about these, I'll read them all. I'll say it now, otherwise I'm going to forget. One of these things about all of these blog post titles is it really plays into a couple of the points I made earlier. One is it's sensible. So each of them has your ideal customer in there somewhere. So each of them is very it speaks for itself. The title is clear, concise. No one needs to think too hard about what is in this blog post. It's obvious what the article is about. So it's good for a search result because it makes perfect sense for a customer. So each of them has that. Also, a couple of them have an either how-to or a top 3 or a top 5. Those results too are appealing as a customer. I know when I do a search on Google, if articles pop up with the best blah, blah, blah in 2024 or 5 ways to blah, 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 or my top 16 blah, blah, blah results, I'm more inclined to go click on those things because I know I'm going to get an easy to read blog post with like bulleted points or numbered points. It's going to be really concise and well put together. So that's also a great idea for inside your blog post, is to include some like that. So some of my examples here have that element to them as well. Next one is 3 reasons why your Facebook ads aren't working. I should make that 30 reasons why your Facebook ads aren't working, but I just had 3. So 3 reasons why your Facebook ads aren't working. That's a little bit more in my niche. I should totally write a blog about that. Creative journaling tips and tricks. Start and finish a project in one sitting. I'm absolutely going to write a blog post about that for my e-commerce store because I know my customers would love that. That title totally speaks to a pain point of theirs, which is starting a project and never finishing it. So I was really, that came to mind and I was happy with that. I'm going to totally write a blog post about that. Next one, what your mum really wants for Mother's Day. That's a good blog post for partners and for maybe adult children looking for gifts for their parents and for their mum. So I thought that was a good title. Why do you love cooking for a big, hang on, what did I write this here? Why you love cooking for a big family. An interview with a local mum of 6 and her tips for stress-free meal planning. I don't like to cook, but I love to meal plan. And if I was looking for ideas on meal planning, I would totally be drawn to a blog post that was interviewing a mum, an Aussie mum. So I've got local there, an Aussie mum with lots of kids. That would appeal to me because I would totally appreciate the systems and processes she has in place for meal planning effectively and cost effectively and keeping a real great structure and schedule and budget in place. So that was a blog post that came to me as something that would appeal to me to read. So that might give you an idea of a topic for a blog post for your own business. And the last one I had was Facebook ads don't have to cost you thousands of dollars. Beginner case study success. Also another blog post I should write for Aussie Online Growing on Shopify. I'll add that to my list of things to do as well. So let's go. Hey, time to take some action. What are you going to do next after this episode? Thanks for hanging out with me today. You can find me at Aussie Online Growing on Shopify. I hope you found this helpful and has given you some great tips and tricks as a beginner in e-commerce or a beginner in online business in Australia. If you don't have a blog, go start one today. If you have a blog but haven't gone to it in a while, go back to it. Use this episode as a bit of inspiration to find some ideas and some topics to write about. And then just keep at it. If you write a blog consistently like I do, but some of the basic SEO tips I share with you you've never thought about or never integrated, go back and edit some of your existing blog posts, freshen up some of the images and freshen up your copy or your text and use some of those headings that are pre-filled out in your blog post writer and use some of the headings that are there, pull some of the content into some lists or some bullet points and save that because newly refreshed blog posts, when you alter the text and you save it, it pops up as a new piece of content for Google to crawl. So if you wrote a blog 2 years ago about why your electricity bill is so high in 2022, go back to the blog post, change it to why is your electricity bill so high in 2024, change up some of the copy and save it again and maybe add a couple of new images. It's a brand new piece of content for Google. It's fresh and it gives you something new to send to your customers, to email out, to use in socials and blah, 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 blah. I could go on about it forever, but this episode's long enough as it is. Thanks for hanging out with me. Head over to Aussie Online Growing on Shopify.com.au and sign up there for a free discovery call. You could work with me one-on-one. I can also do an audit of your Facebook and Meta, your ad account. I did that recently for a client. She's given me the okay to share the results of her case study, which I'll do at a later date. So I can do an audit for you, give you some what went wrong, what's going right. I can give you a structure, a proper strategy to how to succeed on Meta that you can go ahead and implement DIY for yourself, or you can work with me one-on-one to look after that for you on a month-by-month basis. And when I say I'm affordable, I genuinely mean that. I have talked about this before. I have looked into have someone to help me scale my own e-commerce store and have an expert and a consultant who I follow online, a couple of them, and their prices are eye-watering. And I'm only in this for a few years. I haven't got a huge amount of capital behind me. I am investing the money I make over time. I'm paying myself, yes, and I'm profitable, yes. So I know I can help you find customers and succeed profitably online with Shopify or with your clients in a service-based industry. But I am affordable. I can do an audit of your ad account for you. I can give you a report and I can give you metrics and I can give you a strategy moving forward for $100. Like, honestly, it's not a lot of money at all. I'm sure you know that just by me saying that amount. It's not a lot of money, but it's just a starting point. And I would rather people know what's going wrong with their Facebook ads than give it away, and be able to understand how to structure them better, and find success moving forward than feel despondent or go broke. I did an audit of someone's account a while ago, and she had said she'd spent about $400 on Facebook in a month. That just made me so sad because she was never going to do it again. That was a huge amount of money that she gambled. She honestly felt like she just gambled it and lost it. So I was so pleased to work with her and give her an actual, an autopsy almost of what on earth happened, what went wrong, what was good, and how to do it better next time. So you can find me on my website at Aussie Online Growing on Shopify. But also, I meant to tell you, if you're looking for some other episodes to go and listen to that are similar in topic to this one, I suggest you go back and listen to episode 48. Do the work once, make your tasks work for you long term. That episode is about doing work like this once, and then you reap the benefits over time. And episode 14 called Why Are You Doing That? Which is all about evaluating the tasks you do day to day. And are they even worth your time or not worth your time? You need to make those decisions for yourself as a business owner and put time and effort into things that are actually worth your time and effort long term, and not just things we do now to keep ourselves busy. I'll see you guys next time, and go back and listen to some more episodes. Whatever you do, keep learning.